Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you on this beautiful, drizzly morning. So glad you decided to join us for this special time this morning. Please make yourself at home. We're all old-timers here, I think, this morning, in the not the literal sense, the figurative sense. And so you know there are masks and sanitizer and things like that on the back tables, so you can spread out as you like. So we're glad to have Michael Conscious with us this morning. Let's thank him for being here. Thank you, Michael. Laura Adair was to be here this morning, but wasn't able to be, so Joe and I are pitching in a little bit on the songs, and we're always happy to make music with Michael, so that'll be fun. So welcome, all of you. We're going to begin to think about prayer. As always, we begin with prayer, begin to bring into our minds what we're lifting up, and holding the highest truth in mind for. If you want to send prayers in at any time, you can go to just our website, unitydelawareohio.org. There's always a prayer request tab at the top that comes in confidentially. We have a Joys and Concerns table at the back if you want to light a candle for someone, a situation prayerfully, that's available to you. And we are always united in prayer. So let's begin to think about that. We're going to start with a prayerful song. I hope you'll join us on. Real simple one that Michael and I will do called I Trust in God. Started thinking a little bit about thanks and gratitude today. It's a Ricky Byers song. So as soon as you catch on, join in with us. I'm thankful. So grateful. Real simple. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. That's all there is to it. I'm thankful. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. Let's do it once again. I'm thankful. I'm thankful, so grateful. I am one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. 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 Let's just close our eyes for a moment and affirm that truth within our hearts, within our minds, how thankful we are for the blessings in our lives, for the blessings of life itself, for the breath flowing through our lungs, our bodies, the renewing life energy that is flowing through us always, for the way we are being healed in body, mind, and spirit, steadily and ceaselessly, and we do not have to make it happen. The power and presence of God within us and all that makes possible. We are grateful for that this morning. We are thankful. We know we are one with that great spirit of life, with that divine power and presence, that love itself that we abide within, that lives in us always, making all things possible. So we come out of this time of prayer with grateful hearts and minds, knowing God is with us and all is well. And so it is. Amen. All right. Well, we're doing thankful songs today, and I'm pressing Joe into service as well. So he's wearing 2-3 hats today at least. So he's going to put his musician hat on here in a moment and come on up for a Karen Drucker song. Again, a very simple one. It's called Thank You for This Day. And it's really kind of a thank you for the healing energy that's flowing through us always, for peace, for joy, for all the kind of aspects of God that we're connected with. So Joe, come on up and we will do thank you for this day, and we'll expect you to join us on it. All right, he's coming up. He's putting his other hat on. Okay.
I can just sit there and play.
Well,
That's no fun.
Yeah, we got to be a trio, right, Michael?
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Real simple one, so join in on it, okay? I'll call out the repeats. Haven't done this one in a while. It's been a while. Karen Drucker's song, of course. Good intro. All right. Come on in. Good to see you. All right. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing. Let's do that same thing again. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. My wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant. Also my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit. Thank you for my wealth. Thank you for my wealth, Spirit. Thank you for my opulent, my opulent, my opulent, my opulent. Not a word you use every day, right? My opulent, my opulent, my opulent. Thank you for this church. Thank you for this church, Spirit. Thank you for this church. Thank you for this church, Spirit. Thank you. This welcoming church. This welcoming, this welcoming, this welcoming church. This welcoming, this welcoming, this welcoming church. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious life. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Last time. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Pretty good. Thank you, Michael. Okay.
Close enough.
All right. Put that back on. I hope you can hear me okay. I think you can. All right. Well, I took as my title today. It's actually a title of a song we're going to do in a few minutes, Grateful Groove. And it's kind of about how we can learn to get into a groove with gratefulness, with thankfulness. And when we do, how incredibly that can enrich our lives. And it's, given that this is Thanksgiving week, it's just always a really good time to remind ourselves of the power of gratefulness. I like the word gratefulness better than gratitude, because when you're really grateful and feeling really thankful, you have this feeling of gratefulness, right? So we really like that word for it better. And when we have that feeling, we're so richly blessed by it, and it just spawns more and more blessings. There's a real energy to gratefulness that we don't tap into often enough, most of us. And it's really something that we kind of have to learn in life. I don't know how many of us were innately grateful from the get-go. I certainly wasn't. Were you a grateful teenager? I was not a grateful teenager. I'm not sure there are grateful teenagers or young adults. It's a learned thing. And so I there's no criticism about that. I think it's just sort of the human growth process. So I was just remembering a lot of things, examples of gratefulness or lack of gratefulness that I've experienced, that I've witnessed. I was remembering a sweet little event we had at the church here quite a long time ago, a number of years ago. And we did a little luncheon for, we worked in cooperation with a little nonprofit that was set up to help unwed mothers, who became, and they were like teenagers, they were very young with infants, or they were about to have infants. And we had a little luncheon here at the church, and some of you are nodding your heads, you remember the event. We had gift bags that were very carefully prepared and stuffed with gifts for the babies, and lots of homemade touches on the gift bags and so on, and the little blankies and things in the bags. And we had little blessing certificates with the baby's name at the top for each of them. We had a lovely luncheon. And it really was a beautiful event that we felt very blessed to do, and it went very well. And I remember being struck for a moment, in the weeks that followed, that it seemed odd we didn't get a single thank you from the group. Yeah, and then I thought, well, I was not a grateful teenager. It's something we have to learn. It's something we have to learn. Would you agree? Yes. We've all had to learn it. I don't know why, but gratefulness is not right there in the gene code coming right out from the beginning. It's something we have to learn and grow with. And people have always had trouble with it. It reminded me of an old scriptural story. It's from Luke 17, where Jesus heals these. He's on the road, on his way to entering a village, and these 10 lepers approached him, but keep some distance. Well, lepers is in the Bible a lot. It's just anything that showed on people's skin. Is kind of what they meant. Any kind of illness that showed on people's skin, and they would be treated with great, they would be ostracized, and it was a terrible situation with these people. So there were 10 lepers on the road, presumably, and they asked Jesus for help. They begged for help, but they keep some distance from him, as they've learned they had to do. And Jesus, of course, is eager to help them, and says, go on to the temple and go to see the priests there. And as they're moving away, they were all healed en route as they moved off. And only one came back to say thank you and praising God and to thank Jesus. Only one. And Jesus said, we're not 10 healed. Where are the other 9? And it was just a teaching, it was included in those scriptures to be a teaching story about how we need to learn about gratefulness so that we'll be blessed by it. It's a teaching story reminding all of us it's something we have to kind of keep learning. It doesn't come naturally to us. So there's lots of teachings in all the scriptures, all the sacred scriptures, about practicing gratefulness, about giving thanks. Give thanks to God at all times and for everything, Paul wrote to the Ephesians. I love this one from Psalm 100. You probably know it, Cliff, you're our psalm expert. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Enter his gates with thanksgiving. It's from Psalm 100. I like that because it's sort of like, it's with thanksgiving that you enter God's domain. That you get into that spirit of the divine presence. You get there through gratefulness, through feeling deeply grateful. My favorite guru on gratefulness practice is Brother David Stendhal Rast. I've probably mentioned him a number of times, but he's got a wonderful, he's got a lot of books. He's 95 or so now. He's a Benedictine monk. He was based in, I think around Ithaca, New York for many years. But Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer is my favorite book by him. And he's got a TED Talk about, it's called Want to Be Happy? Be Grateful. I like that title. Want to be happy? Be grateful. He's got an online community network for grateful living, gratefullliving.org. If you ever wanted to look at it online, people sharing grateful stories, grateful news. It's a resource for a lot of people to go to, especially when they're not feeling very grateful and not feeling very like life abundant has kind of passed them by. So he's a wonderful teacher, and his primary teaching, again and again, is this: in daily life, we must see that it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratefulness that makes us happy. And it is so true. He talks about how true it is, we forget that all our attention, what we're paying attention to, all our perception is selective. There's a choice involved in what we're going to focus on. what we select to put our attention on, and we can choose a kind of a negative view on focusing on everything we don't have and should have, on what we're lacking, on what other people have and we don't have, on things that went wrong for us that we're still resentful about, and we're going to keep focusing on that. Or we can move toward a more balanced view of life. And I think he makes a strong point here. He says, well, if we're seeing things all black, we're not seeing things accurately. We're not having a balanced view of the world as it is. So practicing gratefulness is a move towards seeing the world as it really is. That every day we're receiving gifts. We're receiving gifts and being able to breathe, and being able to see trees, and feeling good today, and being able to sleep, and having food on our plates, and having good friends in our lives, and having family. There's a lot of gifts in life we're not looking at if we're in that place where it's all about lack and loss. Brother David came into this knowledge very early in life. He came of age in Nazi-occupied Austria. He was 16 to 18 years old in that period of time, and he remembered in his book he recounts some memories of that, spending all night under a pew in the church, during air raids, and coming out alive and thinking, "I'm alive." That's gratefulness in the midst of chaos, a real experience of gratefulness. I am alive. And then he remembers seeing a patch of grass that had not been damaged amid all the rubble of his whole town and shambles around him. That was the most brilliant green he'd ever seen in his life. Sometimes those times when we have little and when everything is out of order, we particularly become aware of the gift of life in some very basic ways we haven't been grateful for before. And it comes in close and strong in our hearts and minds. So he came into those teachings early, and that's been his practice his whole life. Whatever our circumstances, gratefulness improves our lives, wherever we are, whatever our circumstances. And it's a daily practice that's quite humble and doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal, cumulatively. Layer it up day after day, year after year, and gratefulness practice will transform your life without fail, without fail. I got a thank you note in a lovely little handwritten thank you note in a perfect script on a beautiful little card from a friend recently who we had over for dinner, she and her husband, and it was just such a sweet thing to get a note like that. I'm sure I see nods. Others of you have received thank you notes like that. It's a tangible sign of your efforts were appreciated, and it feels good. And I'm blessed that I have friends who do that, that will send notes like that after a dinner party or something like that. What a blessing that is. And it reminds me of how many times I've forgotten to do that, because it's easy to forget that. Again, gratitude doesn't come naturally. We have to kind of remind ourselves of what we need to give thanks for today, day by day. Sometimes it goes for years before we kind of think back on something and think, wow, that made such an impact on me. That was so important to me. I never said thank you. I had an experience, I might have shared this before, but sometime in my 20s, I finally went back and thanked a grade school teacher who had been such a blessing in my life, Mrs. Marshall, my third grade teacher in Galion, Ohio. I don't know whether she's still around or not, but because probably not. I was still in my 20s when I went by. She was retired from teaching and widowed and living by herself still in that small town, and she never had children of her own, so she really poured all this energy into her classrooms, which were huge in that baby boom era. 40 to 50 kids in a classroom. Can you imagine 40 to 50 third graders running around? Chaos. And she managed to not only stay reliably patient and kind, but a lot of cleverness to learn how to manage them. Like, we had a couple of real acting out kind of little boys in the classroom. I'm sorry, but they were little boys. And making a lot of ruckus and so on. And she taught us all to knit. The whole classroom. I love that image now. A whole class of third graders knitting. What a clever teacher. And it was settling, it was calming. It was like she was teaching us a little way of calming ourselves. Very, very clever. And for me, as a little girl, we had moved around a lot just before that. So by the age of 7, or whatever I was in 3rd grade, probably 7, 8, I had already been in 3, 4 different schools because my family had moved a lot. And so it was wonderful to be in this safe, warm, stable place with a trusted, kind person up front. It was a place where you could kind of relax and you could discover your gifts, begin to explore your gifts. And I began to write stories in that classroom, and she encouraged me to read them for the class. And she was encouraging those kind of gifts in everybody in the classroom too. That's an amazing thing. So sometime in my 20s, I looked her up and I went by her house and knocked on her door and said, I'm sure you don't remember me, Mrs. Marshall, but I was in your 3rd grade classroom in 1960 something. And you were a wonderful blessing in my life, and you really helped me discover some gifts I'm still writing to this day. And she smiled and appreciated my visit. It's always a mutual blessing in a big way when we share thanks for something and you've acknowledged the gift, they receive your thanks, they realize they've been appreciated. It's a tremendous mutual blessing, and it just seems to spawn more and more things to give thanks for. Gratitude is powerful and long-lasting. There's no timeline somehow when it comes to gratefulness. I've been thinking about gratefulness all through the week. I was talking to my brother sometime during the week, and he was mentioning a turning point in his life in early adulthood down in Atlanta, trying to make his way, build a career, get it going in insurance. Sales is tough to get started in, any kind of sales, I think, but it was tough getting started in the insurance business, and it's very much commission-oriented. You won't make any money if you're not getting those commissions coming in, getting the new sales and selling policies. So it was a tough time. Resources were real slim. He dealt with a lot of, there was a lot of financial struggle in those years. And there was a turning point where he met somebody, and I wound up selling him a policy who was interested in a particular kind of insurance policy, helpful to him in his profession. He was an air traffic controller at the busy Atlanta airport. And my brother not only sold him a policy, but he was kind enough to give my brother a list of all 100 other employees in the same profession at the airplane, at the tower there. What a turning point in his career. A kindness like that, you don't forget that, and that's 40-odd years ago. 40-odd years ago. It makes you think, back how many people made a mark like that in my life that I'm still blessed by, and I still remember what a rich blessing that was. I was struck by, stumbled on online. I like Steve Hartman, the journalist Steve Hartman. You ever read any of his stuff? They're really uplifting human interest kind of stories he tracks. But it was a story about an attorney in LA whose life was in a mess, both personally and professionally. Nothing was going right. And on a morning walk one day, he got this, he said an inner voice told him he needed to start saying thank you. That was the guidance that came to him. And he started writing thank you notes as a practice every day, thanking anybody. He started writing those thank you notes. To the woman who cut his hair, he sent a thank you note to her. That she took the pains of getting it just right, the way he wanted it every time she went in. To the young woman at Starbucks who got his coffee order right and remembered him by name. And she carried that around in her pocket and said, it just makes you realize, what you're doing counts. It validates people to tell them that you appreciate their efforts. It's an encouragement. He thanked his daughter's piano teacher. He sent notes to anybody he could think of who was a blessing in his life that he hadn't said that thank you to before. And it became a daily practice. And of course, as you do that, there's more and more reasons to say thank you, that you become more and more aware of blessings and more seem to come your way. And he made some tremendous discoveries like that. He said it's almost like there's a mystery about it, but somehow when you say thank you, when you appreciate something, it comes again. When you appreciate something, it comes again. If I thank my clients in his law practice, if I thank my clients for paying their bills so regularly and reliably, they do that more and more. If I thanked somebody for a case that came my way, I get more cases. The more we say thank you, the more blessings we receive. There's a mystery to the way it stimulates the flow of good in our lives. And we only kind of begin to experience that mystery when we step into it and begin to test it and practice gratefulness ourselves. Intentional gratefulness, it's a real practice that has real blessings for us, transformative. The LA attorney wrote a book about that then called 365 Thank Yous, in which has probably changed a lot of other people's lives and introduced them to the practice so that it could change their lives as it did his. I really believe there's such little things that we kind of have a tendency to discount it. Like it's not that important to say a thank you or send a thank you note or just to hold it in our hearts and minds. That's just as powerful. And if we cultivate a habit of that every day, thank you for the brilliant red of those Japanese maple trees this morning. Thank you for that glistening look of the rain on the leaves. Thank you. David Stendhal Rass, the grateful guru, he had a practice, and still does probably, every day something new to be grateful for, to identify something new every day. And it gets very specific, the opportunity to flip a switch with my finger and a light comes on, or any number of little things. This little smell of mown grass I'm catching through the window, or the smell of wet leaves right now. There's a lot of that in the air. Every day to challenge yourself to think of something new to be grateful for. There's no doubt about it, when we can get ourselves into a grateful groove, which is a habit. A groove is a habit, right? It's kind of like a rut or a habit we can get into, but it's a good one. It's a happy one. It's groovy, right? I like the double meaning of that groove thing. You can get in a groove with gratitude that'll make you happier, that will bring more and more blessings because you've cultivated this habit. I'm going to watch for blessings every day. No matter what's going on, I'm going to be alert to how I'm being gifted by life today, and let that bless me and uplift me and heal my life. So let's take that into a closing prayer, if we could, for just a moment, and affirm our intention to get into a grateful groove more and more each day, to practice that habit of gratefulness, being aware day by day, moment by moment, of how we are being blessed. Not just the problems, the challenges we're facing, and they may be there as well, but the way we're being blessed in this very moment and moment by moment through the day, blessed with health, with well-being, with stability, with friends, with family, with beautiful nature all around us, with wisdom coming up as we need it from inside, with that steadying peace of God that is always with us. We are richly blessed, and we know it, and we are grateful. So it is. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, let's do another amen. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, it always feels good. Well, we're going to do a song called Grateful Groove for you today. It's a Jack Fowler, Christy Snow tune. Do you all remember Christy Snow? She was here a couple of times to visit. She's a minister also in Charlotte, I think, out of Signs of Mind Church. And I love this it's a real simple chant. So I hope you'll join us on it. Come on up, Jake, put your other hat on. All right. There it goes. So simple, that's all you have to know is grateful. That's the only word you have to know. Thank you, Michael, for working with us on these songs. All right. Let's do that again. That sounds good.
praise.